Great Depression in Europe will lead to a rise of nationalist dictators. These are people who see an increased military and the expansion of their country, a hostile expansion of their country, as a way to get out of the Great Depression. They rely on an extreme form of nationalism. Our country is better than all other countries. And this is going to be a common solution that European countries turn to. Not all of them, but certainly some of them. Hoover tours Latin America for 10 weeks before his inauguration. Hoover never uses the military except for the one time that he sends it out to run our veterans off the lawn of Washington in the Bonus Army incident. He withdraws the military from Haiti and Nicaragua. And he agrees to recognize any new government in Latin America regardless of how it came to power, whether it was a democratically elected government or came to power through a coup or a revolution. He revokes the Roosevelt corollary. When Latin American countries default on the European debt, he refuses to get involved to try to regulate the situation, as Roosevelt and Taft and Wilson had done. He ignores the advice of economists and refused to restructure or forgive the debt that Europe owes to American bankers and America itself during World War I. Economists are telling him this will crash the European economy, which will crash our economy. And in fact, when the American economy is showing signs of growth in early 1931, it will be this predicted collapse of the European economy in 1931 that sinks us deeper into the real depths of the Great Depression and destroys any chance Herbert Hoover has of winning re-election. So I guess you should have listened to that advice. Treaties to limit these navies that I just talked about in the last video will collapse in the face of the rapid militarization of both Germany and Japan, as well as Italy. Mussolini is actually the first of the fascist dictators. And in fact, the fascist word comes from that's a bundle of sticks with an axe tied to it. That was an ancient symbol of the Roman Empire. And Mussolini used these symbols. He talked about rebuilding the old Roman Empire. And he used that, fasces is what that was called, as a symbol of his government. And so we get this term fascism. Mussolini's fascist party turns more and more towards this militant nationalism. In fact, Italy is going to begin invading African countries. They invade Ethiopia, for example. In Germany, there's a real hatred of the Weimar Republic. That's the government that was put in place after the end of World War II. The massive inflation that the Germans really don't know what to do to pay off all this debt, so they just start printing money. The massive inflation makes the government extremely unpopular, and anti-government leaders will talk about the Treaty of Versailles and how that was this great moment of German weakness and a great failure of the government. By the way, these pictures are amazing. There's a guy sweeping up marks out of the street, a woman burning marks in her fireplace, and a guy with a wheelbarrow full of marks to go grocery shopping, and kids playing with them as blocks because they're so they have so little value. The National Socialist Party arises as the primary political rival to the Weimar Republic. And Adolf Hitler will be elected chancellor in 1933. Hitler had been a World War I veteran. He wasn't even German. He was actually Austrian. And he had fallen into this movement that demanded a militant, expansionist German nationalism, which is why it's the Nationalist Socialist Party. Of course, nationalist in German is National, and so we call him the Nazi Party. Hitler had been arrested. He had written a book explaining his ideas on eugenics. Which is that some races are superior to others, and some races should probably just be gotten rid of altogether. Of course, he means he doesn't really understand where races come from. He thinks that Germans are Aryan, which they're actually not, or not pure certainly. And he talks about the idea that Germans need living space. They need to expand into the areas around them. He also wants to unite all the German-speaking peoples, which is an issue because a lot of those are living in places like Austria and Poland and Czechoslovakia. But Hitler will become a very powerful leader and rapidly rise to control of the German government in the 1930s.